Hi, I'm Professor Baldwin. I've been at Roger Williams for 22 years. I am a civil and environmental engineer. I'm also the chair of the engineering program. So there's very little around here that I don't know, so you can ask me any question. And I'm actually on campus. I'm in our new engineering building, so I'm sat myself down right in front in the student space where kind of hard to see, but I'm on the second floor and it's a gorgeous space. And just no students here, of course, but when they were here, I think they all enjoyed our new building. Olivia.
Yeah, I'm Olivia. I'm a current senior electrical engineering student. That's about it.
I'm Emily. I'm a senior civil engineering student, and I can attest to the students do love the new building.
All right, Joshua, do you want to ask whatever's on your mind?
Oh, okay. Hi. I was in there was an engineering, not a Q&A, but like a presentation a couple days ago, and I saw that in the new engineering building, there's like for example, 3D printers and like mills or something like that. But you need certain certification in order to use it. I was wondering what would getting that certification entail?
So every piece of equipment, you have to go through the training. So number one, you know how to use it properly and how to use it safely. And then once you are trained on that equipment, you have your ID card will get you into the rooms to be able to use that. We have two different spaces. One is here on this floor, and that's the innovation lab, and that's where the 3D printer, the laser cutter, a couple other things are actually, we have a couple of 3D printers in there. And then downstairs in the senior engineering area, we have a metal workshop, and then we also have a wood shop. So all of those things you would need to get trained on, but it only takes like an hour for each facility.
Awesome. And then we can go to the chat. So Billy does have a question. He's thinking of minoring in construction management. Curious how that would pair with civil engineering and if that can be completed in the traditional 4 years.
It can be, and it depends really on what math you come in with, because a student who comes in maybe has taken AP Calc, for example, and can go right into Calc 2. Well, there's space in the program for extra classes. All of our civil engineers, and maybe Emily can speak to this a little bit in a minute, they all take a construction engineering course. But we've had many students who graduate and go into the construction field, even though they don't have a minor. They may have taken 1 or 2 classes, but construction companies like the civil engineers, the training and technical background is really is very highly sought after. But Emily, maybe you could talk a little bit about the construction course.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. I know like a lot of people have graduated and then they go off to work for construction companies and do pretty much exactly what a construction management major would do. The construction class definitely teaches you all of like the basics of like, scheduling, estimating, all of that. And so, I mean, I think that like just a civil engineering major or a specialization would be enough to go into construction management. But if you wanted to add the minor, I feel like it'd be possible.
I mean, it's a little hard to add a whole another, 5 classes, but it's doable with a little bit of creativity.
Mr. Baldwin, do you think it might be more advantageous for a student, kind of like Billy, who wants to be in the construction field, to do like civil engineering major with that, construction course, and then maybe a minor in, management in the business school or something like that? Do you think that would be a better course of action?
Well, I think that the good thing about the Roger Williams program in engineering is everyone takes the same courses for 2 years. That's 4 semesters where you really get to get exposed to different things. And then and you get a little bit more of a developed idea of what you want to do. And then, so working with your advisor, you kind of work backwards. You say, okay, this is what I want to do when I graduate. And then we work backwards to make sure that you have the skills and training and education to be able to get those jobs. You know, sometimes you need to do a full minor, and sometimes it just needs a couple of classes. And that's, you know, sometimes we get kind of stuck on, oh, you got to get a minor in something, but a minor is often 6 classes, and that's a lot. It could be kind of expensive if you had to take an extra semester when you could do perfectly well with maybe a management class or an economics class, something like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's useful, and definitely it's good to know that a minor in construction management doesn't mean the only qualification to secure a job in that field. That engineering and civil curriculum and exposure will give you the tools necessary to be successful in that field as well. That's awesome. What other questions do you guys have?
Joshua again from New Jersey. Another question about the building. I had visited campus last summer with the EY College Map program.
Okay.
And we did like a tour while they were in the middle of construction.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember much, but I remember they said something about the architecture students building a building inside the building or something of that nature, where there was like an actual crane in the building for that. And I was wondering, like for me, for example, I'm going to be majoring in computer engineering. I was wondering if I would be able to maybe take one of the classes that would allow me to see that in action, or is that solely for architecture students?
Well, it's actually not architecture. That's what you're referring to is the construction management. And I'm not sure if you can really see behind me, but like right there, that is the crane. And below there on the first floor, so I'm on the second floor, and on the first floor is where they're constructing, not really so much an actual building, but the skeleton of a building so they're learning different construction techniques. That course is usually taken by sophomore construction management students. And as a computer engineer, you would have to take at least one class as a prerequisite if you wanted to add that course onto your curriculum.
And there are specific brand new computer engineering labs as well in the building, I believe on the second floor as well.
That's right. We have the electrical engineering lab right down the hall from me.
Perfect. Then we'll go back to the chat. Oliver has a question. He asks, are there many labs as hands-on activities aside from lectures, and what kind of activities can you expect to do?
Ooh, I mean, I could take this, but how about Olivia? Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like it's typical for an engineer to have like an actual lab course, probably like once a semester, if not maybe you have 2 labs in a semester. So you get that hands-on experience by taking the lab and like looking at fluids, like fluid flow and seeing that, or mechanics of materials is another class that we have that has a lab. And then additionally, like I took a class last semester where we built a robot for the entire semester. So we didn't have any homework or tests, but we like solely focused on like a competition of building a robot. And so that was like extremely hands-on. And then we also have senior design, which I feel like Emily could talk about because hers is very hands-on.
Yeah, so a lot of the engineering senior design projects are hands-on. Like mine is, we're building a 20-foot long steel bridge, and then there's like projects like Olivia's building a bike, like a smart bike, and many of those are hands-on too. So you get the experience using all the equipment that Dr. Baldwin was talking about. Yeah.
And to build on that, they had a few just kind of clarifying questions. Kind of like, what year does that begin? Is it, reserved for your juniors and seniors, or can freshmen and sophomores expect to have hands-on experiences outside the lecture hall as well?
Well, the first day of the engineering class, so all freshmen take our engineering 110 class. And the very first day, they're put in a group of 4 students, and they are given some materials, and they have to build something. And then there's a little competition, so that starts day 1 and really goes every single semester. We have field trips, we have labs, we have projects, we have sometimes if a class doesn't actually have a whole lab section, we still do other like demonstrations or have students go into a lab and do an experiment. But we also have our student clubs. So we have Engineers Without Borders and IEEE, the mechanical engineering. So you can do these things in a different environment. So it doesn't have to be that you're getting graded on it. You have to worry about your lab report and all of that. You can do fun things. You can do, students always love field trips, and we take a lot of field trips around here.
And did Olivia or Emily, did you guys take part in any of those student activities or student groups outside of physical class in the field of engineering?
Yeah, we do. So I'm in the Society of Women Engineers, which I've loved being a part of. So it's like, since it's kind of like a little bit of smaller school, we have like a lot of opportunities to get into leadership really early, like freshman, sophomore year. So I'm really involved in that. And then also the American Society of Civil Engineers. So they've done like a concrete canoe competition in the past. And then I have also been in Engineers Without Borders, but Olivia can talk about that more. But also then the Food Recovery Network, which we bring food from campus to shelters around Rhode Island. So that's kind of like something I'm involved in that's not just engineering related. So it's a nice opportunity to meet people outside of engineering, but there are also plenty of other opportunities to do that with all the core classes and everything.
Yeah, so then going off of that, we have 3 other engineering clubs that, aside, so there are 2 that Emily mentioned, then we have 3 others. So we have Engineers Without Borders, IEEE, which is the Electrical and Computer Engineering Club, and then ASME, which is the Mechanical Engineering Club. And both IEEE and ASME do like fun projects throughout the semester. So in IEEE, they do like a fun Arduino robotics project. I'm not really sure what ASME does. I'm not a part of that. But then EWB, we do like service-oriented projects. So Dr. Baldwin has been a part of the group for a while, and we in the past, I think 3 years or so, we've traveled to Anconcito, Ecuador to install water purification systems. That's been a fun ongoing project where we've done many iterations and yeah, worked on that a lot.
Awesome, thank you. What other questions do you guys have? Emily, Olivia, do you guys have any minors or anything that you have combined with your engineering degrees?
Just math, but that's
Math?
pretty typical.
Awesome. So another question back to Billy. Does school help with getting summer jobs related to their major? So are there resources at Roger in the field of engineering that helps get internships or summer jobs back when they return home?
I'll start. So we have a center here for career and professional development, and we have 2 career fairs every year, one in the fall specifically for our school, and then one in the spring that's for the entire university. We have employers who send us positions, and then we post them, and so all the students can go on, bring their resume, get their resume worked on. We also have sent students to various conferences. I'll let Emily talk about that. But, I would say 100% of our students get at least one sort of internship kind of job during their a summer that they're a student.
Yeah, so the conferences the School of Engineering will like help send us to is like I've gone to the Society of Women Engineers conferences. So those have been like all around the United States, Baltimore, Minneapolis, Austin, Texas. There was one in Providence. So they always have a career fair there. So like my internship I had last summer, I got with a company that was at that career fair, which was at the conference. And so then that actually worked out really well because having an internship, then they ended up giving me an offer for a full-time job. So I really like recommend students try to find internships, and it really does seem like most people do. And then, yeah, like Dr. Baldwin mentioned, also the Career Center is really great for helping prepare for those conferences. They will like look over your resume, help you with like an elevator speech, anything you need, and then also planning the on-campus career fairs.
Perfect. What else is on your mind, students?
Why don't we, while we're waiting, Olivia, why don't you say a little bit about what you're doing next year after you graduate?
Oh yeah, so I'll be going to grad school next year, which is another thing that some engineering students do, like get jobs or go to grad school. And I think my application for that was actually really, was significantly better because I did a research experience for undergraduates last summer, which basically, for the most part, you like go to another university and conduct research under professor or postdoc student and basically help assist them. It was a great experience because I was at the University of Maryland, which is like a really big school. So it was cool to be at a school that's different than ours and had like resources that maybe we don't have. Could never go to school there, but it was cool to be there for the summer. So yeah, that's just an opportunity that I was encouraged by professors to apply for, and they helped me with my application and all that.
So one question came in from Oliver. Since the first 2 years the engineering courses are taking, or engineering students are taking the same courses, is it easy for you to switch between the fields?
Oh, absolutely. You don't actually declare what kind of specialization you want to do until your second semester of sophomore year. So that means that all of our students take the same engineering courses, and they're all what we would consider engineering science courses. That means kind of like the basis for all engineering. And in those courses, you get to see a little bit of mechanical engineering, some civil engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering. So these are like the applications of what you're learning, and working then with your advisor and with, just talking to other kids. I think you kind of get a good feel for what kind of engineer you want to be. And even once you've declared, if you are a junior and you decide, I really don't want to do this, we can easily, accommodate that switch.
Awesome. And then Joshua did answer another question in the chat, kind of to Olivia and Emily. As engineering students who have been incredibly successful already with math minors and involved in many clubs, any tips or tricks you have for students coming into college, how to manage time or, pick clubs to be involved in, balance the internships, things like that? Anything you guys found, maybe course selection, days of the week, anything you could provide to the students coming to college, things that worked for you guys?
Yeah, so I think for me, one of the biggest things was just like staying organized. I'm a big to-do list person, schedule person, got my planner. And I think too, we do get like a lot of homework in engineering, which I'm sure Emily feels the same way. So it's kind of tough to make sure you have like all your deadlines and due dates and everything. So I just like to stay organized and be realistic with yourself. Like if you really need to study for a test, then you can't go to clubs, So
Yeah, same with Olivia, just being organized, starting early. But honestly, I feel like the clubs have not really hurt my academic success in any way. I would say they probably helped, if anything. So like freshman year, I got to know all these upperclassmen who were had been through exactly what I'm going through. So they were able to offer advice, and if I ever needed any homework help, they were usually available to give me some tips. So I found that really helpful, and I could also use them as an example for this is someone who has successfully gone through this program, and they're studying tonight, maybe I should too. So yeah.
And going off of that too, getting to know, Emily and I were in a similar boat of getting to know older upperclassmen, is they would be honest. Okay, about like what classes you were taking. Like there are some classes that are known to have a larger workload. So if you're like planning out your schedule, they're like, that looks like a really heavy semester. So they can like kind of give you guidance on maybe it's best to like save that if there's like a class you can save. And I know Emily and I have both been on like the opposite side of that now as upperclassmen. So it's kind of cool.
But also the clubs are an opportunity to kind of relax a bit too, right? I mean, you have the social aspect. You can't, I mean, although, you know, we would like it if all of our students just work, but it's nice to have a you know, different experience to them. Kind of that social interaction was great.
Absolutely. And I think as a university, I know it's not athletics, but you know, students who are part of our varsity athletics, they always have a higher GPA during their in-season semester. So you know, soccer students have a higher GPA in fall semester when they have games and practices than they do in spring semester. I think it's just kind of human nature in a way. And you guys know, as high school students being involved in activities or sports or jobs, when you have a lot of things going on, you have to manage your time a little bit more strategically, and you can't just, you know, take a nap and say, I'll do that later, because you only have so many hours in the day that are taken apart. So being involved in clubs kind of keeps you active, keeps you involved, and does allow you to really schedule out your time and not just put it to the side and say, I'll do that later, which tends to get a little dangerous close to deadlines and procrastination and all that. So I think Olivia and Emily kind of perfectly described that it does complement the studies very, very well. It gives you balance between math and science work, but also kind of the social aspect and kind of creating relationships and friendships with students who you typically wouldn't come across in your day-to-day college or your dorm room or something like that. What else? Any other questions you guys have? I know, Robert, you joined us kind of midway through. So we have 2 current students and Dr. Baldwin here. So feel free to enter anything to the chat or unmute yourself and ask any questions as well.
I'll say one thing. One thing that I've noticed that, and I probably is even more so now, that as an accepted student, and if you deposit, you get a lot of emails from the school, and it's hard to know like what's the important stuff, and it, you know, you just get overwhelmed. There are all these things coming in. But let me just tell you, there's a couple of really important emails. One is will tell you about taking the math placement test. So all the engineers have to take a math placement because we need to know, are you going to start at in Calc 1 or are you going to take pre-calc? And so it's important to schedule that math placement test and to study for it. Another thing is the LLCs, the living learning communities, and you will have opportunities for joining different LLCs. And I think, did both Olivia and Emily, did you both do LLCs? Maybe you could talk a little bit about the LLC.
Yeah, so neither of us were actually in the engineering LLC, but that's a great opportunity. We know people who have been in it, so I think we can speak a little bit to it. But if you're in the engineering LLC, you live together. It's normally in Maple with, I think, like the students in your engineering 110 class, which is that first semester freshman class, and they like all have that common experience. A lot of times they also try to make the RA an engineer, which has been a good resource. I know that doesn't always happen. And I think from the people we know that have been in it, it's just been like a great opportunity to have friends in your major and have people to work on homework with from day one. And for the most part, they've stayed a pretty close-knit group, which is cool. They've definitely let some outsiders in, which is nice, but I know they really appreciate that experience.
You were in what, the Honors LLC? Oh yeah. So we have different LLCs, and also athletics LLCs, I think. You know, it's, I think it's a great opportunity. I know the engineering LLC was many times is in one of the best dorms, you know, so that's pretty good.
Absolutely. No, it's a great way, you know, typically you tend to have a little bit more in common with students in your same major than you would maybe with a philosophy or criminal justice student. If you're a true engineer, you know, sharing that first floor with other engineering students, you just tend to kind of connect with them and have a little more in common than someone from a different major. But back to the chat, I think this question's for you, Dr. Do you know any students in the past, or maybe how you see this working, engineering major with a minor in preservation studies?
Well, we had a student who graduated just last year, Eleanor, and she is a civil engineer, so she works in structures, and she also has a historic preservation background. So she took, I think she did do the minor, but she also really got involved. She joined the Historic Preservation Club, and there are opportunities here on campus for doing that kind of work. She also got herself an internship in that area, and that's who she is working for now. She sent me a great picture of herself in some very old building. She's tied off, she's got a harness. I guess just in case the floor were to just break from under her. It was really pretty interesting, and it's great to see that she's doing exactly what she wanted to do. So it is definitely possible. I don't know, Emily, do you know anything more about Ellie's job?
Yeah, so Olivia and I actually, Ellie is one of the like upperclassmen we're talking about. She was like kind of inspiration for us, if you will, but she was our roommate. And I know she's doing the historic preservation kind of mixed with civil engineering work, and she seems to really enjoy it.
Where in the country is she working?
She's in Connecticut, in Old Saybrook.
Nice. And then also a question to you, Olivia and Emily from Joshua. If you go back to freshman year, what was the best dorm building? Which one would you choose?
I would say Stonewall is pretty nice.
Yeah, Emily and I both lived in Stonewall freshman year, and it's really nice. But
Okay.
I feel like each one is different and depends on what you're looking for. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, none of them are like bad, really.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions you guys have?
So Emily and Olivia, do you remember your freshman course, the competition that you had to do at the very first day of class?
Not really, if I'm being totally honest.
You've had a lot of classes since then.
Yeah, I remember the freshman design project definitely, but I don't think I remember that first day.
Yeah, you remember the students who were in your group and kind of stuck with you all 4 years?
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely like that, learning the engineering design process was pretty interesting, and that has stuck with me more so than like the project itself. But I think that's like mostly what the project is about, is more of just like the design process and like learning how to work with a team. We would like, take notes about everything we talked about, and like that's like a really important skill. So I think that was like my major takeaway from it.
Awesome, yeah, and we'll let them, think about some more questions. Just kind of a question for you guys, Olivia and Emily. Obviously, you guys were accepted to many universities. I can go on a limb and guarantee that. What surprised you, or were you exposed to something that you were not expecting at Roger Williams once you enrolled, whether it's in the engineering field, or maybe outside socially or something? I'm sure you visited campuses and you had in-depth visits to 2 or 3 of them, your final list. Is there anything that you were not expecting that you were pleasantly surprised with at Roger?
I think one of the biggest things is I chose Roger Williams because I did want a small school, but I wasn't expecting just like how close-knit the engineering community is, not just with the students, but also with the professors. I've had a couple professors that have just been great mentors to me, and I can go in their office and talk about, like, I'm stressed about this job interview or getting this done for like my grad school apps, and like they're always there to listen and be supportive. So I like knew going to a small school I'd have that face-to-face interaction, but I didn't realize like how close-knit and how much I would like really value it.
Yeah, that's the same sort of thing with me. Like when I visited campus, I like felt welcomed right away, and like it's like a very like comfortable feeling. Like, I'm pretty far away from home, but I never like really feel like I'm like alone in that. And so yeah, it was always nice to have the professors I could go to talk to, and all my fellow engineering students too that I'm friends with, and also honestly like any other major too.
Awesome, thank you. And Oliver did ask in the chat, maybe for Olivia or Emily, but also for Dr. Baldwin, what projects have been done recently within the community, kind of surrounding campus, that students are involved in the engineering field?
I'll start this one, and then I'm going to go to Olivia. There are a lot of different projects that we've had. We have senior design projects that we have done. There have been a couple in some old forts that are in the area right on the water, back from like the Civil War days, that were crumbling, and our students went in and made plans for how to really renovate those and get it working again. But we also have in our sustainable energy program, we have a big program here in Bristol called Kid Wind. And Olivia, you were working with them, weren't you, last year?
Yeah, so the Kid Win project is a really fun project. It is a class of engineering, the Sustainable Energy Systems class, and a class of, I think it's sophomore education majors. And they come together and they co-teach lessons in the local 4th grade classrooms in the Bristol Warren School District. And they go in, I think, 5 times throughout the semester and teach them about engineering design, like energy, kind of everything. And the focus is wind turbines because it's like a relevant topic to Rhode Island. So it was a really fun project to be a part of. And throughout the entire semester, they're also working on building these small model wind turbines that would be tested at the end of year celebration. So last year was the first year. I wasn't in either of the classes, but I worked for the professor and supported all the needs of the project and helped plan the celebration event. And it was really cool. We brought 232 4th graders to campus one day. And it was just like a super fun day. Fortunately, it's canceled this year. But it was a really great way for our students to work with people outside of their discipline, like the education majors and the 4th graders, and be able to take these complex ideas that you understand, but maybe you need to be able to explain them to somebody that doesn't have that same background knowledge. So that's been a fun project.
What else? Any other questions you guys have? You can throw in the chat or unmute yourself. Maybe not. Olivia, Emily, do you guys have anything you would like to say to students, seniors, or anything coming in, and anything you would have liked to known or know now that you wish you had known back making the decision, or anything you can help the students out with? I know it's not an easy question.
I feel like my biggest thing is, whether you decide on Roger Williams or not, is just pick some place that you can like see yourself. Not just like see yourself there, but see yourself succeeding there. I think like that was a big thing that I really could see myself succeeding and doing well at Roger Williams. And 4 years later, I think I've done all right. So I'm happy I made that decision.
Yeah, I would say like definitely like choosing somewhere you're comfortable with. And I like really wish you could visit our campus. It's so, it's so beautiful and welcoming. But someday you'll be able to when this blows over. But yeah, I would choose somewhere that you can see yourself succeeding, and somewhere that you're gonna, really like shine, show up to class, succeed, all that.
Dr. Baldwin, any other words of wisdom you have for students who are pursuing the field of engineering, and maybe questions they should be asking other universities about the programs or accreditations or anything like that that might be advantageous for them?
Well, I think that one of the benefits of our program is that you don't have to decide what kind of an engineer you want to be. So since everybody takes the same things for the first 4 semesters, you can really be exposed to different areas. And I think that's a real strength, because it's really hard for, a 17, 18-year-old, kid to decide what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And the fact that we don't have grad students, we didn't really mention that, but if you go to the big state schools, and I know because I was a grad student, but you have grad students teaching a lot of the undergraduate classes, and a grad student is just not the same thing as a full-time faculty member. You know, that's not their first focus. For us, all we do is undergraduate education. We are totally, focused on that. And I think that's a big difference. If you go to the big schools, you'll see that a lot of the classes are actually being taught by, 24-year-old kids who, are students themselves, and that's their first priority.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's applicable to all majors, not only to engineering, but
Right.
that's definitely a benefit. And for these students to probably get texted from Professor Baldwin or Dr. Baldwin about this session and signed up for it, I just think it shows a little bit of the Roger Williams community, and of course in a unprecedented time and uncharted waters for all of us, it's still very impressive to see members from Iowa and Illinois and Rhode Island and Jersey coming together here on 2:00 in the afternoon. And then one final question, Robert actually wrote in there: do engineering students have a specific tech platform, Apple or PC, that is needed or required for you guys in the school?
That's a great question, and I'm going to turn it over to the students because honestly, I've seen everything, but maybe they have the real scoop.
Yeah, we're not required to have either Apple or PC. I mean, it is definitely like helpful to have a laptop for sure. I'd say like I personally have a PC and I really appreciate having a PC. Some things like Excel you'll learn your freshman year, it's just a little bit different on an Apple. But on either an Apple or a PC, we have what's called the R Cloud. And so you just like log on online and you have access to all of the programs that the school has. So like, SolidWorks, Visio. If you don't have Excel on your computer, then you can get Excel through that, but you can also get Excel through the university. And so it really if you're more comfortable with an Apple, then I would go with an Apple, but I personally prefer a PC. But yeah, doesn't really matter.
I think that's true. We have SolidWorks that we can get a student version of, but it's only for the PC. That's if you want to download it on your own computer, but either an Apple or PC, you can use the SolidWorks on the cloud. But a lot of people have Apples, and if that's what you need to use, then you keep using it. There's no reason why you have to go get a new computer, something that's not familiar with you. For you, it's definitely either way.
Awesome. Great to know that both work in all the classes in the labs. And like I said, moving forward, it's just an example of how easily obtainable members of our community are. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us directly via email. It's our first initial. And yeah, so Joshua's asked for Professor Baldwin's information. So do you mind if I write your email address in the chat?
Please do. Absolutely.
jbaldwin@rw.edu. So feel free to reach out to her. So mine is just T. Durgan at RW. I know you guys have emails from different members of the admissions team based on where you are geographically. I know, Joshua, you're probably working in Colton down in Jersey, and wherever you're from, there is a member of that team as well. But feel free to reach out to me directly. But Dr. Baldwin is going to be, without a doubt, a better resource for the engineering field. And I know she's always open to answering questions via email or things like that. Really don't hesitate at any moment. Of course, if your parents have questions as well, send us an email. We'll be happy to talk to them about maybe more financial things or other aspects they might be asking about campus location, campus security, or things like that as well. So really, forward that on. Also, if you have friends of friends and cousins of brothers, if you have questions about Roger Williams, feel free to give that information to them directly as well, okay? But I really appreciate you guys taking out the time to come attend the session. Thank you again to Olivia and Emily taking time out of your days to be a part of this, and Dr. Baldwin, of course, for your expertise in the field. And Billy, Joshua, Robert, Oliver, and the phone caller. Thank you again, and let us know if we can help in any further way, okay?
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. If you had any questions, I'm happy to respond. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
All right, thanks.